Hi and welcome back to the Isle. As my RX growth hasn't gone so well, as the servers are plagued with canny and cheater Rexes, I decided to grow a Stego, one of my favorite chill playables that I actually enjoy growing even though it takes full workday to do so and might make you lose few marbles while you slumber around the island bored. Before I could do that, I had to sacrifice my little Ngale that I had in EU3 after my 4 times Prime Elder Ngale lost its life to a Kano, which I have to admit is boosted to the point that for new players and for some veterans it feels like DPS hacker with the speed it headbangs everything to the oblivion. After feeding the Elder Rex the insect-sized meal it got from me, it was time to make a camo skin and spawn in. Wait a sec. Where the heck am I? Oh, there's a sanctuary over there. Let's go over there. In the most horrible place in the whole island, aka Delta. I opted quickly to move my tiny spiky behind to the swamp where I would be way more safe and closer to the one of the places I really wanted to go. They really need to add more lights to the tunnel. It's so dark. But this is so cinematic. I love the tunnels. Also, a swamp sanctuary is quiet as a graveyard nowadays, so it was a good place to visit to get one of the Prime Elder quests ticked off from the list. Huh? What's that? Something in the water? Oh! Is it a croc? There it is. It's a small croc. Well, not small enough, it seems. There it goes again! Does it even know I'm here? I guess not. I guess their night vision as abysmal as Stego's. One reason the swamp sanctuary is so quiet is because there is no mushrooms whatsoever. But at least there's lots and lots of food around it, so there is that. I got also my first patrol zone in the swamp, so I could take that off from the list as well. Some say you only need to visit 3, some say 6, so I usually just visit as many as I can while I travel. I also like to carry around food to the next food batch, that is. So I have all the diet foods next to each other. Pro tip: as the food to nutrient ratio at the start of your growth is as horrible as Rex's, I did the only thing I knew would work for better growth and made my little Stekling evacuate its stomach contents to make room for more nutrients, thus greater growth boosts. Another pro tip: I was stuck in the swamp until the worst of the growth ticks that empty your stomach faster than a professional mukbanger does their plate were over. It was painful to sit in the humid swamp ground and wait. I was itching to go. And as soon as I noticed my growth was getting bigger than my need for travel, I left the murky waters behind me and waddled off to the south. The once booming place has turned to quiet little haven where I have grown countless of dinosaurs, and it has both open field and the jungle and plenty of safe water spots. And also you can decide either to go West Axis or Highlands or even back to the swamp from south. It's a very good spot in the map where you have crossroads almost to anywhere in the map. I don't do well in one spot for long periods of time, so I started the great journey which I had envisioned in my head perfectly. A journey that would make me visit pretty much every migration and patrol zone in the island, from swamp to south, then west and highlands, and lastly the north. I would be missing the migrations and patrol zones in Delta, but that place was good as dead for me. The fear of the white Rexes had stubbornly stuck to my head, screaming to me to stay clear from the Delta and Highlands. But the back of the Highlands is still pretty safe to travel through, if you don't stick around to watch the view. This same journey I did countless of times with my galley, so I knew exactly where I was going, even in pitch black, which is the Stego night vision. The anxiety-growing moments just after dusk and just before dawn are the ones I truly hated during this growth and journey. As soon as I get to the backside of the Highlands, the sooner I wanted to stumble my way out of there, as it gives me chills every time I use this route, that is being used by many others as well to avoid the Highland lakeside, which is the hotspot of action when the server is packed. I didn't wanna bump into any encounters. Every sound that I heard that I didn't think came from my Stego made me nervously look around in the void and just hope it was ambient noises that are trying to make the game feel more like a horror game. Which it can be. Finally, after what felt like hours stumbling in the darkness, I saw the lights of the buoys at the water access. I was getting closer to the volcano and the north, the final stretch. I just needed to cross by the bottleneck, which is the dam. Might I add, it would be perfect ambush place for example Rexes if there were more players in the servers. By making the map smaller didn't really help with the hotspot situation, but at least in the no-eye server, it feels like people are more scattered because there is no double AI herds in the Delta or galleys in the Highlands. The most dangerous places are still the sanctuaries. The hotspot sanctuaries, might I add. Distant calls of other dinosaurs gave me comfort, as they were just that. Distant. On my way to north, I grabbed migration zone and a patrol zone. And I believe that is my second migration and my fourth patrol zone. So, when it comes to getting prime, I was on a roll. As I had traveled further and further away, first from Delta and then from Highland, I grew more calmer and confident. Nobody would be at this desolate place. It's too far from the lazy cheater Rexes. There is no reason to go to north for them. And I did notice the lack of adult Rex broadcasts and sounds during my journey. And I started to ponder, maybe there wasn't that much of a problem in here. At least not in this server. And not for European players that have no life and start to play as soon as the breakfast has been eaten, like yours truly. And it wouldn't be hottest without rubber banding. I have had this problem ages now. Usually when this happens, I just relog. That usually fixes it. Because if I don't fix it, I might get a crash or kicked out. After fixing the rubber banding, I decided I would go to the port. Because port has 2 patrol zones and I was getting really close to fully adult and I wanted to grab the last of the patrol zones just in case. Also, the migration zone was in Highland and there was no way I was gonna backtrack. Definitely not there. Even though this is the most quietest time of the server. It's the work hours for Europeans. That is the reason it's pretty much dead. Upon entering port, I went to the tunnel patrol zone. It's a patrol zone right after the tunnel. And there wasn't any diet foods, but that's alright. If you give it like 10 minutes, those leaves are gonna turn into nutrients. I decided to get some water while I waited. And what did I see? Oh, hello! I hope you're not a scout. Then again, I don't think those cheater Rexes would use scouts this far away from Delta. Oh, look at you! Are you a Prime? You look like Prime. How in earth have you managed to live here? Scavenging the baby bodies? Killing some bigger chewies? They're small fishes at least. So it is doable for Terra to survive here. I really wanna do a Prime Elder Terra. I need to get on top of that. I bet it's gonna be fairly easy if you're lucky. But I rather do it in AI server than in here. Oh! The patrol zone popped in now. Perfect! I had been in port almost hour and 45 minutes. Well, I did pop in at the waterfalls, the great waterfalls, trying to get a migration zone until I realized it was in Delta and decided to, you know, come back to my safe place. And then I saw something that turned my blood cold for a second. Another Stego. You never know. They could be KOSing Stego, or they could be friendly. You never know. I decided to keep my distance and then start to talk to them and see if they answer. If they don't answer, I would start booking out of there. But I did notice they were bigger. Probably Prime. To my relief, they actually stopped and talked to me. So I was fairly confident that they weren't a KOSer. So I decided to talk more. You know, break the ice, hope that we could group up. Because when you group up with somebody, the patrol zones keep popping up. As a solo, it's a little bit harder to get the patrol zones to pop up. You have to wait for so long. And to my joy, we did group up. I did ask, even though I was fairly certain Clue is a Prime. And now that we grouped up, I knew my growth would go breezily. Nobody would dare to screw around 2 Stegos. I started to trust Clue more, so I decided to share my route as well, so they know what I have been through to get here. And they seemed very friendly, very chill. So I felt very comfortable around Clue. A spot where it might trigger your Prime? I'm intrigued. I will show that spot later on, guys, believe me. this thing needs to be shared. I did get a prime before we managed to get to that magic spot. I did get a cellular regeneration, and for my 4th mutation, I decided to take congenital hypoalgesia, because that is the best mutation against Rexes. And here's my other mutations, osteosclerosis and tactile endurance. Both are really good against Rexes in my opinion. But I also wanted to know what Clue took, because I'm very curious what kind of builds other people do. I did notice that Clue took congenital hypoalgesia and tactile endurance as well. So those are pretty much the meta what comes to Stego mutations. Especially now that there's Rexes. You wanna get those first, and everything else later, if you manage to entomb yourself several times. I hope that the Rex balance update comes soon, because Rex is in a very awkward position at the moment because of the sub being so slow, but at the same time kind of OP, because it can pin a lot of things that are bigger than it is. In my opinion, it should only pin something that is 75% of its weight. Similar to Dano. What do you guys think? Tell me in the comment section below. Me and Clue had been chilling together so long that we pretty much started our own tradition, which was raising the tail at the mornings. I called them tail exercises. I haven't really fought as a Stego that much, so when I tried the power swing, I noticed it swinged completely the other direction I was looking at. So I need to train more to understand the camera angles a little better. It works better when you're standing still than moving, definitely. When the restart was upon us, I asked Clue if they would come back, because I was done being on my lonesome. I needed a travel and talking companion. When I saw Clue saying about a war operation, that reminded me of Nick Boya's video, and I was like, huh, is this guy part of the Nick Boya's horde? And he was. So I had to tell him what I thought about the video. I truly respect that kind of dedication, and I totally support the war against cheaters. So I said I could help. I would love to do anything to make the servers more safe for everyone to grow in peace and enjoy the game. It's gonna take a lot of time, so that's gonna affect the uploads, but I really wanna help in this war. And I got recruited. Anyways, after the restart, me and Clue met up at the board and continued our growth towards the 100% Prime Elder. We even had a pet PT that had been following me all the time. What a cutie pie. We even bump into 2 smaller steglings and adopt them to help them, you know, grow. We didn't really need the nutrients anymore. We were both prime and very close to 100, so, you know, might as well help other people to reach their primes. And as promised, this is the magic spot Clue was talking about. Apparently you can trigger the prime if you know, get to Frail Elder, you just visit this spot and you will trigger Prime. Clue vouched for it to work. He apparently had done it multiple times, so I don't have any reason to doubt him. So I think this works. So if you start to get Fragile Elder, just visit this spot if you're in the neighborhood. Clue had to log out. Thank you, Clue, for showing us the magic spot and keeping me company. And also thank you for recruiting me to Nick's squad. I hope I can help as much as possible. After Clue logged out, I continued with the wholesome Stego family we managed to gather around. I also had to show this. I was, blocking so the smaller ones could drink in peace. It's a reflex nowadays when I'm fully adult, or in this case Prime Elder Stego. I do it automatically, even without thinking about it, even though I was fairly sure there was no croc in the lake. But to my surprise, there was actually a croc there. I'm so glad I do that blocking. I don't think that size of a Dano would have done anything though, but you never know. It could be also cheater. By the way, I just wanted to show you this. Now that I have AMD graphics card, I noticed that there was a huge FPS drops in the jungle. Not in the open areas, but in the jungle. And I kept fiddling around with the settings to try and figure out what was causing that issue. I found it. Disable the foliage physics because that was the main issue. The FPS started going up as soon as I ticked those off. And finally, I had reached 100% Prime Elder. It took me about over 8 hours, I wanna say. If my calculations are right, it took me over 8 hours. Not too bad compared to, for example, Rex, but yeah, it took a whole work day. I might end on this deco, but probably later, because it takes so long to grow a new one. Anyway, so this was Prime Elder Stego, guys. What do you think about it? Tell me in the comment section below. This is it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, that helps a lot. If you're not subscribed, please consider subscribing. It is completely free. Thanks for watching. See you on the next one, and bye bye.